Hello, my name is Andrew Griffin. Welcome to the Red Dirt Video Report. This is our second episode. I'm here with our senior writer, Heide Brandes.
Hello.
So Heidi's been very busy the past couple of weeks as the legislature has started up their annual session. And Heidi, why don't you tell us what you've been working on and what's coming up?
Well, there was a lot of news this week. Of course, it's the first week of session, so you're going to see a lot of momentum build up. We had some big things go through subcommittees and committees this week, which I think are really important. Top one being, in my opinion, the Real ID Act. As you know, Oklahoma is not compliant with the federal Real ID Act, and though we got an extension as a state until July, if we didn't have any legislation in place to make us compliant, more than likely we wouldn't get another extension. They made that pretty clear, which means you could not get on airplanes, you could not get on federal properties and military bases without a passport or military ID. So the House just passed a bill which they feel will make Oklahoma compliant with the federal Real ID Act.
What has the pushback been about the Real ID?
A lot of it, well, as part of the Real ID Act, you have this database of information, and Oklahoma in the past had kind of really rankled at the idea of having all this information just available to everybody. They felt it was an overreach of government. Well, now they feel they can get around that because this bill actually has an opt-out clause. So if you're like, I don't want my information being shared on this database, you don't have to get a Real ID. You won't be able to get on an airplane without a passport, but you don't have to have a Real ID. You can have your regular state's driver's license.
So this was sort of a reaction to the September 11th attacks and the fact that they got in the U.S. and had these bogus IDs.
With the Federal Real ID Act, it was meant to make it harder for terrorists or nefarious people to have fake IDs and be able to just get on airplanes and military bases. So you can see the thinking behind it. But then you had a lot of decision makers in Oklahoma. They're really concerned that this was overreach of government and that it was making too many people's information too accessible when they didn't want it to be. So it's a sticky situation for a while.
Okay, so who are some of the pro-Real ID legislators that are trying to at least get a compromise going?
Well, the House, of course, really took the ball on this. I mean, they have a bill and they're like, we need to get this done.
Right.
I mean, there's no excuses anymore. So I don't think anybody is against having something out there that makes us compliant.
Okay.
They tried to do this last year and they just couldn't get the wording right and it didn't ever pass. So now it has. It moves on to the Senate and even the governor is in favor of this particular bill. And traditionally she hasn't been in favor of the Real ID Act bills that have come up previously.
And what else has been going on?
Oh, well, you know, the budget. The budget's always a hot topic in
Indeed
Oklahoma, and it should be. I mean, we're facing almost a 900 million, it's huge shortfall in our state. And corrections and teacher pay are two hot items. And the Senate subcommittee passed about a half a dozen teacher pay raise bills. Not saying that all half dozen are going to eventually become bills. One will more than likely become a bill.
Were they expecting more than just half a dozen?
I think so. You know, it's on the top of everybody's agenda. The House also has their own versions of it. There were several of the bills had kind of the same wording. It was a schedule of minimum pay based on years and experience. So some of them started out at $31,000 to $35,000. Some of them started at $32,600 or $600 to $37,000. So there were various bills that were almost exactly the same, except the pay rates were slightly different.
And would this put us matching neighboring states?
It would get us close. It would get us close.
So we're not siphoning off all these teachers to Texas and...
No, and that's always been the concern. We don't have the funding, and we pay our teachers lower than neighboring states, and I think the legislature has finally, come to the point where they really want to fix this.
Right.
They recognize that this is top on people's minds. This is what people want, and we have to do something. Like you said, we're going to lose our teachers. We're going to lose our future generations to better paying states.
Now we had there's some breaking news today about Attorney General Scott Pruitt. He was
confirmed.
confirmed as the new head of the Environmental Protection Agency, and there's been a lot of controversy about that. They really rammed it through, the Republicans, and even though they're a judge here, I guess here in Oklahoma County, said that Attorney General Pruitt had to release these emails that they were seeking. That
Yeah, there was a watchdog group that had requested, I think, 3,000 emails.
Right.
And it's just been languishing, that request, that open records request. It's been languishing for 2 to 3 years. And you talk to other journalists here in the state, they've had the same problems with that office. So finally a judge says, you've got to comply.
Right.
And you have until X date, which is like a week and a half from now or something. So it's not like you have another 2 years to comply. You have to comply right now.
So the Senate Republicans didn't want to wait until next Tuesday to get those emails first, and then everyone have the all the information they needed to if they wanted to confirm or deny. So, is there anything else, Heidi, that you want to tell our viewers about?
Well,
Sure, we're working on.
Oh gosh, there's just so much going on.
Yeah,
And there always is at the beginning of session. And many of the bills that you hear about, whether it's the, that abortion bill from Humphrey to, teacher pay raises, they may make it out of subcommittee, but whether or not they actually make it into law is a whole different story. So there's always an evolution of how proposed bills eventually become law, and you just have to keep watching, keep calling your legislators.
Right.
That's the most important thing you can do, is have your voice heard and let them know what you want.
Well, we're here to continue doing that at reddirtreport.com and getting those stories to you, our readers and viewers. Now that we've got this video program we're starting up, and we're so glad that you could join us. And we'll have plenty of stories coming out this weekend and into the next week and onward. I've got a story coming out about some folks who live off the grid out near Spencer, and they had a meeting at the Sierra Club 612 gathering yesterday, and I'm going to be doing a story about that.
That's very exciting.
Yeah,
actually.
and it's very interesting to learn about their solar panels and heating their water and how that works. And
water reclamation systems.
Right, exactly, and composting toilets, and if it's
sawdust
hot,
toilet?
if it's hot outside, they cook out like in this area off of their house, so it doesn't heat up their house inside. So they've thought of all these really kind of unique ways of just kind of coping with Oklahoma's kind of turbulent weather, the heat, the storms, and so forth, and the cold and the winter.
And not being dependent upon
Right. Yeah, so I'll be having
the grid, so to speak.
Yeah, off the grid. So I'll have that story coming up in the next couple of days, and just want to thank you all. And if you have any stories, ideas you want to send to us, you can mail it to Sarah at reddirtreport.com. That's Sarah with an H. And thanks again.
Today we have with us Olivier Rey, one of our freelancers who lives down in Norman, and he is actually from France. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi everyone. And so today we are talking about the protest.
Yes, you recently covered one down in Norman. And what was the protest over?
It was against the immigration ban. It was organized by the Iranian Student Association, and it was part of the Academic United. It's a group on Facebook, and they organize protests in 40 different universities in the US. And
So OU held one, is that
exactly
correct? Okay.
And so this one was smaller than the previous one. We have about 100 people who came, and mostly Iranian students. And also some professors and academics from the university.
Okay. And Anastasia Pittman was there, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was a very great support for the students.
That's good.
Yes.
Very good. She does like to take some stands on some certain things. So
Exactly.
that's good. Good for her.
Mm.
So anything else about that, or are we moving on to the big Valentine's Day news?
Oh. For now, there is nothing else. I think we are mostly waiting for see what's happened, if they remove or not the executive order, and if not, we may have a new protest.
Okay. Now, what is the general feel from the students at OU who
Yeah.
are the international students?
We are mostly worried.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what are people trying to tell them to calm the nerves?
That they are not alone.
Yeah.
That the university is here to support them, to provide financial support, to provide attorney. And so, yes, they are not alone, but still you can feel that they are worried because they don't know if they can stay or not here, if they can find a job, or they can't even go outside of the US. You know, they can't invite their family in the US. So it's very, yes, it's very stressful. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I can only imagine.
Mhm.
So, as I said before, our big Valentine's Day news. So, we had some elections that were held on Tuesday, Valentine's Day, and you covered the Norman City Council, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we have a big surprise this time. Kate Bierman from the City Council Ward 1 won the election against Greg Apple, who was actual incumbent.
Okay.
He was living since 20 years in Norman. I've been already elected a few times. So yes, it was a big surprise. She was new, 30 years old, and she won by 53%.
And you quoted her saying, she said something about how she was surprised. Is
Exactly,
that
she
correct?
didn't expect also.
Yeah.
Actually, she thought it would have a runoff because there were 3 candidates. So she won with 53%. Greg Apple had 44%, and the last candidate, Victor Reyes, about a few percent.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the runoff election is April?
So there will be a runoff for the Ward 5 for James Chappell and Sarah Wilson.
Okay.
They both get about 44%. And yes, the runoff will be in April 4th.
Okay.
And we have also Stephen Tyler Holman, who won the Ward 7. It was less a surprise because he already won a few times the elections, and his opponent was a new candidate, student, a little bit inexperimented, and so he won by 80%.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about wraps it up.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much for chatting with us
Thank
today.
you. Have a good day.